Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spot On Sports. This is my point exactly, the great debate that is up in your face. I'm here surrounded by the three best in the business once again, John, Trey, as well as Darren joining us as a guest of the show this week. Guys, this is my point exactly once again. So give me your greatest take, greatest opinion, and we will roll with that. We'll get started with the NBA Players Coalition. Obviously, Kyrie Irving has texted players. He's got players together to protest for what is going on with social injustice and everything right now versus the NBA returning back to the season. Should the NBA, the question is, should the NBA take this into consideration as far as they restart the season and possibly hold it off, or should they continue with operations as is? John, I'll let you start with this.
Yeah, so today Dwight Howard released a statement, and I got a chance to read a little bit of it. But if you read the first part of it, he talks about how like their message is being misconstrued, that they're not trying to stop or postpone the NBA season. And if you read it, I can't remember the exact quote, but he says something that we would be foolish to think that we could stop a powerhouse like the NBA from starting the season. So I don't necessarily think that that's their goals is to stop or postpone the season. Ultimately, I do kind of agree with the people that say that the NBA would be a distraction, only because this country is just like sports is so ingrained in everything that we do. So if we see LeBron and Kawhi and Paul George and all these players out there, they got highlights, storylines, interviews, all of that. That's what's going to dominate social media, and it is going to take some of the focus naturally away from the Black Lives Matter movement. And I don't think that as a people, as Black people, we've had this much social momentum in a long time. So I do think that the NBA would be a distraction, but I think them postponing it or not starting it on July 30th or July 31st at this point isn't realistic. I think it's going to start on time. They have the bubble and the rules in place, and players have until June 24th to decide if they're going to go or not. But I think the show's going to go on.
Trey, how do you feel?
The bubble championship, as I dubbed it. I feel like they should play. Like we've been fighting oppression for a long time, man. And I remember did Muhammad Ali stop boxing? Did Bill Russell stop playing? When they was fighting, I just feel like to play. I know John said we ain't had this momentum in a long time, but if the NBA players use their platform right, they can keep extending that momentum. Like just because you playing don't mean you can stop talking about it. Like they're gonna ask you questions every day, and the best way to continue on momentum is them talk about it. Because if they don't play, it's gonna be like out of sight, out of mind. Eventually, like it's gonna their point. They want to extend the momentum. It's gonna be out of sight, out of mind. They don't say nothing, don't speak up, because we ain't gonna hear their opinion. Right now, we don't have nothing to talk about. When the NFL training camp starts up and baseball gonna start up, and if the NBA don't play, then they're gonna go away from them. ESPN's gonna focus more on baseball and the NFL. So I feel like they should play. That way, they can compete with other sports, but they can also get their message across.
Darren, how do you feel in regards to this coalition?
I agree with both of these guys. Honestly, I think that Kyrie, I do think it's been a little bit misconstrued. I don't think that he's trying to stop, or if I know John said that's what Dwight didn't say, but at my initial reaction was I don't think he was trying to stop play because of oppression. No, I think he was trying to stop play because he understood it could be a distraction. But to Trey's point, it's now the player's responsibility to not allow it to be a distraction. Matt Barnes said it earlier on ESPN. The NBA players have the greatest platform of any other players. So LeBron James is entrenched in this. Russell Westbrook is making a documentary about this type of stuff. Okay. When they get out there, it's up to them. We talk about what these guys wear before a game. How about wearing a t-shirt that promotes the Black Lives Matter movement? If we're talking about those type of things, if we're in the press conference, talk about the injustices that are happening. So while it could be a distraction, possibly, I mean, I'm sure I don't know if you guys watched the Dave Chappelle special by now, where he mentioned that Kobe's last game was a bit of a distraction from the cops getting killed in Dallas. It can be a distraction. What are you going to do to not allow it to be a distraction? That's the real question that needs to be addressed right now.
I don't know if you can not allow it to be a distraction. I think about something as simple as this platform right here. We've had a lot of conversations about racial oppression and the coronavirus, the pandemic, all of that. Once sports resumes, the topics on these shows and just everywhere on social media, and in people's households, is no longer going to be about racial oppression, or it's no longer going to be about the pandemic. It's going to be about what happened in the Lakers versus Clippers game the night before, and all of that. So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing and that the NBA needs to take that into consideration, but I do think that it will take momentum away, because, like I said, sports is so ingrained in our country. It will take some momentum away from the movement. But like you said, I agree with you. And Trey, the players have to take that responsibility upon themselves, knowing that, hey, we are the spotlight right now. Like, we brought sports back. We're playing. Everybody's looking at us right now, and continue to use that as a vehicle to get their message across, to take a stand against racial oppression in America.
So maybe I should say, how can you minimize the distraction rather than just eliminate a distraction altogether?
Right. Yeah. Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
See that?
Just and I think the ways to do that is to continue to bring awareness to it. Like you said, the t-shirts and the warm-ups. I think, like interviews and post-game press conferences, doing things before the game that, make sure the TV highlights, just, halftime, different things like that, just messaging, making sure that you continue to bring awareness to it.
Yeah.
And I think they will.
And I think that speaks to maybe the power of social media, because though ESPN can just focus on, hey, did you just see Paul George drop 40? And that may be the storyline that they have, but social media is the great equalizer in media, to where if he comes out and after he drops 40 speaks about that Black Lives Matter movement, that's gonna be all over. Y'all gotta excuse me, man. Things be happening around here, you know what I'm saying?
All right. All right.
If he comes in and he speaks about it, at least social media will grab a hold of that. And we know what social media can do. That can make a message go viral, go national.
On the social media tip, if the University of Texas black athletes can all come together and like make a list of demands on how they want Texas to change and lift up black people at the University of Texas sports, then I'm pretty sure you got billionaires and millionaires, people who can be backed by money, can come up with a list of demands and give to the owners and say, this is what we want for us to like ease us back into playing. They will calm us down. They make us come together and want to play more, because we want this Black Lives Movement to keep on going. We don't want it to go away when we start playing. Like when John say LeBron hit a game-winning 3 or something, it's gonna die off. But we want it to keep going and just uplift black people.
Man, speaking of that Texas thing, man, black athletes especially have so much power within this, because they understand that in most sports that it's a black majority as far as athletes. Man, if you start banding together, they're not gonna just tell you no, because they understand that you are the generator of their revenue. They're not out there playing. They can own the team, but if the team doesn't want to play, it ain't gonna happen. You look at Patrick Mahomes. If Patrick Mahomes takes a stand, that is your star quarterback. That is the face of the NFL. He holds weight. These athletes have a lot of weight to make changes in their landscape. Maybe the league. We'll see that it can get into the regular life later, but starting off with the league is a big change, and they have a lot of power.
Obviously, and you guys already hit up on a lot of good points. I think the biggest thing for the NBA and the players as well is just to keep things from keep basketball from becoming so much as a distraction that we forget everything that's really going on. Obviously, what LeBron and what tip of my tongue, Russ are going to do is going to help be more light to the situation. Obviously, the Players Coalition making sure things are maintained for the Black community. And there's many different ways aside from just I Can't Breathe shirts that NBA players can help. And much like when you guys were talking, I was thinking of things in my head. What if, to highlight, the Black community and the businesses, maybe there's something where the players can wear something to represent a small business in the area or something, a small business that maybe the team could possibly back or that is Black owned. Maybe that would help as far as people, hey, we're still aware of what's going on, and it doesn't just stop because the ball finally tipped off. So definitely many different things that
I can see that. I can
go
see
on.
that.
Right. So we're on to our next topic, to the NFL.
Hold on, Tony.
Go ahead.
Tony, I'm sorry. I just want to say something really quick. I just want to get this in to everybody that's listening right now. Please stop acting like Kyrie Irving is crazy. Like, listen to what he's saying. Do your research. And please stop acting like Kyrie Irving is crazy. I mean, we jump on our own. I know he said the Earth was flat. How you feel about how he left Boston? Whatever. That is a good brother talking about making some good change. Please stop acting like Kyrie Irving is crazy. Do
I
your
was talking about
research
that.
and listen to what he's saying.
Man, I
The
think
only
that if
thing,
somebody else
oh,
said the same thing Kyrie said, we would not be looking at this subject the same way. It doesn't
If
have to
LeBron said it, it would be they would be
forget
talking about him like he's Obama.
if Giannis like people don't like Kyrie, so they want to write off everything he says. You don't have to write off and call somebody crazy just because you don't agree. That's first and foremost, and that's what a lot of people do in a lot of situations. And secondly, just because you think somebody is wild or you think he is eccentric or you might just think he's not a good guy, doesn't mean that everything that comes out of his mouth is something idiotic. Let's just take it on a case by case basis, and let's say, okay, Kyrie, you was wild about that Earth is flat stuff. But if we're talking about bringing attention to a movement, let's not just write you off because you're Kyrie Irving.
the only thing I gotta say against that is the timing of everything, because they voted on this bubble thing. He was part of the 28 vote. They voted after George Floyd died. So if you had these same things in your head, oh, I don't want to do this because it's going to be a distraction. Why when they voted, it was 28 yes and 0 no. Why you come back a week later after they told you you can't go into that bubble because you're hurt and you're not playing? Now all of a sudden, oh, I think we should not do it because the Black Lives Matter. That's the only thing I have against it. It's the timing. Like
If he
if
did
you
it like that,
if you felt this way from the beginning, it's like, oh, it was 27-1. And like, all right, Kyrie, you back this from the beginning. But like it's like all of a sudden it just changed in 7 days.
Yeah,
I would
I
say,
can't speak on why he specifically voted one way or another, but also in Dwight Howard's piece, he talked about how a lot of the players aren't in favor of going back and just doing what they feel like they have to. So maybe Kyrie in that moment felt like he needed to vote, or whatever happened. I'm not sure, but yeah, I just think it's completely unfair what they we're doing to Kyrie, the way that they're kind of just casting him off and acting like anything he says is crazy. I mean, he's talking about black empowerment. He literally said that he's willing to lose everything that he has, to fight for this. He said he is willing to die for this shit. I'm sorry for cussing, but he said that. That's a direct quote. So I mean, he needs to be revered. I'm not saying, on the level of LeBron or anything, but for us to cast him off and say that he's crazy for talking about black ownership. Darren talked about the power that the black players has. He's talking about starting their own league. Is it feasible? Probably not. But he's talking about it. He's starting the conversation, and we're acting like he's crazy. And I just
I
don't
mean,
get it.
he can still do give it all up. He do like Maya Moore did. She sat out 2 seasons in a row for this, for basically the same thing that we
Cap,
fighting about now.
Cap sacrificed his too back in
Yeah, so
2016. He
so
sacrificed.
so he can still do that.
But he
It's
shouldn't
just,
have
I
to
mean,
do that for us to respect him and what he's saying.
I agree
okay.
with both of you.
I agree that. I agree with that. Let's move it on to the NFL, guys. Obviously, just a couple days ago, sources said that multiple Cowboys and Texans players were diagnosed with COVID-19. The biggest question, obviously, is one of those players, namely being Ezekiel Elliott. Biggest question is, and Darren, this is for you: could this affect the start of the NFL season?
I don't think so because this was something that was to be expected. The NFL season is about what 5-6 months when you go in total between training camp to the Super Bowl. That's about 6 months. To think that no NFL player was going to catch this disease in that 6 months was just it wasn't gonna. That's not realistic, and I think they understood that. And with that being said, it's not as if like these players who are stars, are elite players, are immune to the disease. So I think that the NFL was aware that this was a possibility. I think they expected it. Did they want it? Not at all. Nobody wants to see Ezekiel Elliott, one of the best running backs in the league, catch coronavirus. But we were aware that you're bringing back football. You're bringing back a sport where people are touching each other. You can't be socially distant. We understood that people catching this was going to be an issue. They understand that in basketball. They understand that in any league that's going to come back. So I don't think it's going to deter them. They're not going to like it, but I don't think it's going to deter them because it was something that they expected.
Gotcha. Trey.
Preseason games, maybe they probably because they already talking about canceling the Hall of Fame game and all that stuff. But regular season game, like I don't think they're gonna miss those games. It's too much money. Like too much money to be missed. It's multi-billions on billions of dollars if they miss like real games. So like he said, like we expected, like Corona's it's not going nowhere until we find a vaccine. uh, Abbott getting mad at people my age for going out after you open up the state. It's gonna spike, bro. Like coronavirus, like he said, it's here to stay until we find a vaccine. I feel like it might count some preseason games, but not like regular season games. People we gonna play. I just feel like these people are greedy and too much money to be made and too much money to be missed. You see, they open up the country after people start complaining about not being able to make money, and it's billions on billions of dollars, dog. That's a lot of money, man. And I don't see them missing regular season games.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, so earlier my boy said Ezekiel Elliott is one of the best running backs in the league. I just want to clarify
Who's
and put
one?
this out.
Who said one of?
He
I
said one
did.
of.
He's
I
one
just
of
want to
Darren,
let it
Darren,
be
Darren.
known right now to
Before
all of our
he is
faithful,
the best. Ezekiel Elliott is the
loyal.
best running back in the
Thank
league.
you.
Listen. I'll say this and then John continue what you're saying. Darren, you don't know this. You probably seen me tweeted before. The Cowboys can do all things through Ezekiel Elliott that strengthens them. And you know that man is the best. I love what Christian McCaffrey is doing, but
I'm a
Ezekiel
Cowboy
Elliott,
fan. He ain't the best, dog.
he's the best.
Oh,
He's the best.
Man, he ain't the best, dog.
He's
I'm
the
a
best.
Cowboy fan, man.
John,
He don't
continue.
make.
John.
okay. But I think as far as the NFL, like they say, you have to be prepared. And Roger Goodell said they're prepared for a certain number of cases that they have in mind. You can't talk about bringing all of these people back, and especially in a contact sport. There's really no way you can social distance. If you listen to John Harbaugh's comments, he was frustrated, basically saying like, how are we supposed to abide by these guidelines? You know, they're just humanly impossible, to quote him. So they're prepared for a certain number of cases. I don't think it'll affect games at all. If anything, you know, players will have to miss time and then just, you know, get back with their teams whenever they're done quarantining. And I think you're going to see a lot of what people aren't ready for is when your fantasy team this year, where one of your star players, you know, God forbid, I guess, catches coronavirus and he has to sit down for 2 weeks, maybe three, and you can't play him. So I think that's a real possibility. I think the games are going to be played, but you're going to see a lot of, you know, uh, not injuries, but you're going to see a lot of illnesses on the injury report. I feel like because I mean the show's going to go on, the NFL is going to go on, and players are just have to sit down. It's going to be a weird and unique season in that manner.
And there's one thing I'll add to that. Obviously, with the number of months that it has been, about 3 or 4 so far since quarantine is really taken into effect along with social distancing. I feel like the NFL has had ample time to put something into place. Again, like you said, with Goodell saying with the number of, they had an idea for the number of COVID cases, but obviously with the NBA automatically having a plan when they were just the last sport to be stopped, less over. I mean, we were like what 2 weeks away from the playoffs, and then the season got cut off. And for them to already have another plan in place and start it back just a couple months down the road says a lot about them. For the NFL, I would be disappointed. Preseason trade, yeah, I agree. I say you can cut probably 2 of those games, or cut a week or something. Let them get a game to try to get freshened up or something like that. Maybe 2 weeks, but you cut most of the preseason away. Obviously, off season have to most of that probably be done virtual anyway. But I never saw from the beginning the NFL actually missing the season because it's just so much money tied into what's been going on. Obviously, we know a lot about the salary cap and what's going on with that and how it's going to skyrocket for next year. Guys like Dak Prescott, Pat Mahomes, those who are buying for contracts still get to be paid. So that would take a piece out of the pie if COVID was to interrupt what the NFL would do. So I totally am an advocate for them still going with the season, obviously. But if you got to cut some games here and there, obviously stuff like the Hall of Fame game can be missed. So guys, that is my point exactly, everyone. Appreciate you for tuning into the show. We thank for these guys for giving their takes and opinions. Please once again comment, rate, subscribe, drop us a like, head to the YouTube page. Check out more of my point exactly. Check out our high school coverage as well as SOS discussions, podcasts. It's all there for you. This is the new wave of sports to the Super Nation. We're not just accurate, spot on. I'm your host, Mike Monk, and this is Spot on Sports. See you guys next time.